What's up, Pantasy pals? I've come back out of cryostasis to show off another model that I worked on, look at some of the details, and talk a bit about the design process behind the scenes. I guess I didn't do a complete hack job of my first model because I got asked to do another one. With the remote digital way that I was working on this, putting the functionality into the retro phone was a bit of a challenge, so this time we wanted to do a modular building. Lots of detail, less moving parts. I was given a few options on what the subject matter would be, one of which was an art school. As an alumni of the prestigious Glasgow School of Art, even if I was there for arguably their worst semester in history, I felt I had a strong connection to the subject matter and could put a lot of my own experience into it. You know, just as long as there's no open flames. The brief said it had to look European, and, well, Glasgow is part of Europe, so I put a lot of that sandstone brickwork, black iron fixtures, and oxidizing copper roofs that you see in Victorian-era buildings on the street and in the front facade, with a grand stepped entrance, and little details like the turrets and statues, and wee curly bitties. So skipping ahead a bit, the lighting kit that's in this, that was actually added after I handed it over and had no idea it was being added, so thank goodness I made the entrance elevated because it made a very handy cavity for putting the battery box in around the back. Oh, and this is my cat, Bailey. Coming inside, we have a familiar retro telephone in the reception area, and in this room we have the fine art studio, the very classical still life setup. I wanted each of the canvases set up to have a different style of painting to show the different interpretations you can get from the same subject. On the other side we have a degree show. Now I will admit, when I worked on this it was totally different. Degree shows that I went to as students were a bit more industrial looking, shall we say, so mine was pretty sparse and white. So this has been zhuzhed up a bit to be more of an art gallery by the Pantasy team. Thank goodness there's a fire extinguisher here. One thing that I'm really not a fan of in LEGO modular buildings is that you can only look at them down through the layers. So I want to have these bits at the side that swing open so you can see the interior from another angle. Upstairs here we have the fashion studio, which I'm pretty chuffed with how this vintage sewing machine build turned out. And on the other side we have a little architecture studio, which I will admit, these models are also not my design. In one of the towers we have this pottery studio with a little working spinny thingy for pots. I think it's called a potter's wheel. You know, the thing from Ghost. And in the other tower is a photography studio with one of those paper backdrop things on a spool, which from my experience, are always a little bit crumpled. Like I said before, I didn't know this was going to have a lighting kit. This is the first time for me putting one inside a brick-based model, and the results look very impressive. And the cable management bricks do a really good job of hiding it all away. Working with Pantasy is a very interesting process. They're over in China, so I'm doing it 100% remotely. I work 100% digitally making models and then sending it over, and because of the time dilation, I have to wait till the next day to get the feedback. The main feedback that I got is that they kept wanting it to be made bigger. Coming from the LEGO group, I'm used to modulars just being 32 by 32 modules, and unless it's a special occasion, and even then, unless it's a corner building, they don't go all the way to the back, or they're selling a lot of air. But I kept getting the feedback of, make it wider, make it deeper, make it taller, as I was taught by my previous job never to dream so big. So it's great to get to go all out just this once. Anyway, we go back and forth for a few months, and then the final model gets handed over to them where they make the finishing touches, which in this case included adding a whole lighting setup. They also added more little details to the model. Again, being classically LEGO trained, I was a bit more modest with adding lots of little details to the model, but Pantasy have a bunch of crazy new weird building elements which would make even a Speed Champions designer blush. So since they're more used to using these, they utilised them to the fullest to maximise the wow factor on the finished model. Now, this isn't a review, so of course I'm going to say buy it, because I made it. But if I was going to rate it, I'd give it 11 out of 10. So I hope you guys think the model looks really cool, and let me know if you have any questions about it or the design process, and I'll try and answer them in the comments. I'm going to go back into cryostasis now, so wake me when you need me.